Bitcoin is too difficult to understand. Bitcoin is too expensive. I'm so late to the party. Bitcoin is used only by criminals. All these things people tell me every single week. But only the people who are non-believers, who do not understand crypto, they have these myths in their head and they say, I'm not investing in Bitcoin because of this and this and this. Well, I got tired of it. So I made this video and I want to help you understand the 5 biggest myths people tell me why they don't invest in Bitcoin. And I'm bringing you the counter argument to them. I'm bringing you the data, I'm bringing you the news, I'm bringing you the charts, and I want to help you understand it as well. Now, if you are one of these non-believers, keep watching the video. And even if you believe in Bitcoin, I think it's worth watching. But if you know someone who thinks you're a lunatic for investing in Bitcoin, definitely send this video to them. Let's get going. Well, the number 1 myth is that crypto is only used by criminals, right? We hear this all the time. And I'll tell you the truth. If you follow Bitcoin's history, it has been used for criminal activities. Why? It was untraceable. Not a lot of people knew about it. Not a lot of people understood, especially not in the government. So it was used for illicit activities, but not anymore. One thing that shows that very much is the number of the percentage of the total transaction volume that is allocated or can be connected to illicit activities. That went down to 0.14% the last year, all the way from almost 1% in 2020, and obviously much higher pre-2020. Now, if you look at it, it's still $45 billion worth of transactions that has been allocated or can be connected to illicit activities, but it's nothing compared to the transaction volume that we are looking at. Now, if you look at Visa, or not just Visa, but card fraud, which you would be thinking everybody uses card every single day. That's about $34 billion that is still connected to malicious activities, and we know how much the banks and all that regulated. So it's not really an issue, in my opinion, and it's definitely in the decline. And still remember, this is a $3.5 trillion worth of industry. We have about $100 billion worth of transactions every single day. So still a very up and coming thing, but even comparatively, it is not even close to what people think criminal activities are connected. Also very important to know that there are discussions and a lot of people busting illegal crypto criminal activities and gangs and whatever that is. It is more and more coming to the surface, especially as regulation comes in and as these things get much more monitored. We do see a tendency of these criminal activities declining. But one more thing to note here, which is very important, is not only the fact that there is less criminal activity in Bitcoin and crypto in general, but also there's much more legal activity when it comes to crypto. An interesting statistics is that stable coins amount to about 1.1, and I think it's much more higher than this now, 1.1% of the US dollar supply. That means that over 1% of all US dollar supply has been tokenized now and can be used on the blockchain. Why is this relevant? It's relevant because the bills that the Senate just passed, the Genius bill, for example, is going to be essential to create US dollar dominance across the world. And as Bessent says, the Treasury Secretary says, the stablecoins could grow to $3.7 trillion in market value, which today is less than 200 billion. So we're looking at a massive growth potential that will obviously have not only bring credibility to the space, but also bring a massive interest to crypto itself. So that's about the criminal case. Not true at all. Second one is Bitcoin has no value and not backed by anything. I love this because I always say people, okay, so what is the US dollar backed with? And the US dollar and all fiat currencies are there because we trust our government that the money will be there tomorrow. But there's not really anything backing, other than the military, for example, not really backing any of the fiat currencies. But I wanted to bring you a little bit more than that, and this is why I brought you these. One is Bitcoin is a strategic reserve asset in America. That's already itself should tell you that there is something backing it, because if this asset became a strategic national reserve for the United States of America, it should have some value that these very smart people at the government see. That's number 1. Number 2 is that there are a massive amount of ETFs that already offer this to the public with massive interest. So we're looking at 70 billion in record piece for ETFs, that is inflow, but also if you look at the statistics, ETFs, only the US ETFs combined hold about 1.2 million Bitcoins, which is about 7%, 5 to 7% on the network if you consider the Bitcoins that are already lost, because there is at least 3-4 million out of the 21 that is already lost. So you can look at between 5 to 7.5% of all Bitcoin that is held by US ETFs and therefore held by the public. Not only the ETFs, but also companies are exposed to crypto. Again, the weeds are going into the economy, whether that's backed by anything or not. If over 100 companies put that on their balance sheet, and not only in the United States, but across the globe, a lot of people hold billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin ETFs. If this is all not enough, again, I'm just circling back to Besen and I'm circling back to government saying that a thriving stablecoin ecosystem will drive demand for the private sector for US treasuries. So what you have to understand here is that as crypto becomes mainstream, stablecoins that are one-on-one backed with the US dollar will be very relevant. Now, these companies that issue stablecoins do hold government bonds and treasury bills. So these companies that hold treasury bills are the same companies that hold Bitcoin. So if you think about the overall picture, there are companies that are issuing stable coins, US dollar stable coins or euro stable coins. We're going to see a lot popping up in the coming years, but US dollar stable coins. And these companies are essential for buying government treasury bills and government bonds, and the same companies keep their own money not only in T-bills but also in Bitcoin. That means that Bitcoin is backed by the companies, which is backed by basically the US government. Now, not only that, if you look at the fact that then there are still some people saying, okay, but Bitcoin is like nothing at all. If you look at the transacting volume, Bitcoin network finalized more than $19 trillion worth of Bitcoin transactions in 2025. I'll tell you one thing, this is already much more than it was last year in 2024. But what is interesting about this, that Visa, which, you know, we say, oh my God, it's Visa, I would rather buy Visa. I hear it a lot of times. If it's a digital cash, I would rather buy Visa. Visa had about $16 trillion worth of transactions or volume in last year. So Bitcoin has beaten it with $3-4 trillion extra, which is absolutely insane. And again, Bitcoin is 10 years old. You know, we're looking at a very early asset, and is beating Visa, which is the most used transacting network on the planet. Another reason why to believe Bitcoin has value is because it's scarce in capacity. There is not unlimited amount of Bitcoins. There's 21 million. That's all it's gonna be, and about 3-4 million is already lost based on the calculations. So the limited supply, obviously limited supply and increased demand is there. If you think about the fact that there's maybe 18 million, 17 million Bitcoins left on the planet, how many millionaires there are, how many millionaires would be interested in acquiring at least one Bitcoin, you do the math. And also, my biggest one and my favorite one, and I did do a keynote on this, is the decentralized network. Like, there is nothing on the planet that is as decentralized network as Bitcoin. It's run by 20,000 plus nodes. We're going to talk about it in a bit, but this network is not something that you can just create. Bitcoin is run by 20,000 independent computers across the globe, undisclosed locations, and you can imprint anything on this network. You can't limit this network, you can't censor this network. The network itself is extremely valuable. So these are all the things that I believe back Bitcoin and should be considered as such. Third is, Bitcoin is too volatile. You know, I talked to someone, I was at a grill party in a weekend, and they were like, you know what, I'm buying Tesla. I'm like, have you seen Tesla the past year? Like, have you seen what Tesla did? Yeah, but I'm buying the S&P. Have you seen the S&P, what the S&P did? So yes, Bitcoin is volatile comparatively, but I bring you some stats to change your mind here as well. Bitcoin is at its historic lows when it comes to volatility, and I'm backing this up with some data here. If you look at the Magnificent 7 1-year volatility, right? The past year volatility, Bitcoin is not even on the top. Meta is at the top, Nvidia is at the top, Tesla is at the top, and even Google and Amazon comes in just slightly lower than Bitcoin when it comes to volatility. But what is interesting is, as I said, Bitcoin is a very early asset class, right? It's a very early asset. Now, if you look at different assets in history when they were at the baby stages, this is Bitcoin realized volatility versus market cap, and it's very similar to what you see with gold or what you have seen with gold. Gold's volatility has been extremely high as well when it was an early asset or when it was becoming a mainstream asset, but still in the early stages. So this is absolutely normal. And I wanted to tell you one more thing, which is, yes, a lot of people say, yeah, but Bitcoin, this is the time when, this is a chart from January 2025 to April, and Bitcoin dumped like 32%. And this is the chart when my family calls me and they're like, oh, you know, I told you you should not invest in Bitcoin. I'm like, yeah, you know, the reality is that one, even if you look at this, the move has been retraced completely. But also if you zoom out a little bit and you say, hey, if you invested in 2024, early 2024, you would have made about 300% to the top and even 200% after the 30% pullback. So just don't tell me that Bitcoin is volatile, because Bitcoin is not volatile if your time frame is not 12 months or 2 months or 5 months. Bitcoin is actually pretty stable. I mean, at least this weekly chart looks pretty decent for me, okay? Or you can say it's volatile to the upside. The next one is, crypto is way too complicated. And I agree. This is one thing that I can agree with. Bitcoin and crypto is complicated to start getting into. And this is exactly why I dedicated my past 12 months to creating the best course. It's completely free. We're not selling you anything. The way we work is we work with the biggest brands and the biggest names in the industry. We work with Ledger, Binance, Bybit, all the big guys, and we help you get into crypto. So if you're thinking about all these that I'm saying now, and you want to learn more where Bitcoin comes from, what is the problem with our current financial system, how can it even be that you pay the bank to keep your own money and then they limit you how much money you can keep, and what might be the solution, and how Bitcoin and blockchain solves all that. We're talking about Ethereum, DeFi, staking, stablecoins, all that. It's all packed in here. It's 70 something lessons pre-recorded, and then we have the next cohort, which is with a live workshop. I'm gonna be there with you, holding your hand in 10 days. So there is a link in the description, but also there is a link pinned in the comment section of this video. Go and check that out. Send it to your friends, and come learn with us from the very basics. I promise you, after you complete this course, you're gonna be an expert when it comes to crypto investing. So go and check that out. But even if you don't take the course because you think you know it all and you're gonna come back later, you can see Bitcoin adoption happening at a massive pace. So you can acquire Bitcoin at PayPal. You can acquire Bitcoin through your brokers, through ETFs. So the adoption is happening, and even if you don't understand, you can get into crypto very, very fast. And also, it's very important to know that the adoption is happening. So there's about 560 million people, 500 million people already on board in crypto. And my personal mission is to be the guy that onboards 1 million people in the next 2-3 years. So again, I just want to invite you to come and join us to this cohort in 10 days. Send it to your friends. You can literally, we did it with Ren's mom. She completed the course with ease. So you can do it with whether we have people 70 years old that come in, we have people at 14. So go and check it out down in that link in the description. The next thing is, what if I unplug Bitcoin? And this is the last that I brought here, but I hear this so many times. People come to me and they're like, yeah, you know what? You can play around until someone just unplugs that digital network. And I'm like, bro, that's not how it works. But I understand people can't really comprehend this decentralized network. So I'm here to kind of give you an idea. So the most important thing is you have to imagine the Bitcoin network as individual computers. I'm going to boil everything down very simply for you. There are 20,000 computers around the globe. You see them here. We don't know the exact locations to all of these. Plus, not all of these is shown here. But there are thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of computers around the world that run the exact same program, the Bitcoin program, basically. And they run, therefore, the network, verify transactions, and much more. There is no way of unplugging this network. There is just no way. There is no central entity that established these 22,000 nodes. It's just spread as wildfire, and people join the movement. For anyone to censor, limit, or destroy the Bitcoin network, they would need to at least take control, at least 51% of the network. That means they would need to get control of over 10, 12,000 computers across the globe, that undisclosed location, completely separate to each other, unrelated, shut them down, all of them at the same time, take control over them at the same time, and limit everyone else across the globe to plug in at least one computer. It's impossible to do. It's simply impossible at this stage to carry this out. So even if there was something happening, for example, you can say, yeah, but what if there is a regulation that limits people to mine Bitcoin, for example, in America? And then you can just look at this chart and be like, okay, 10% is mined in the United States, and then the network is going to lose. Well, I have something for you. Back in 2021, there was the China ban on Bitcoin mining. China basically banned Bitcoin mining. And what happened is very simple. May 13, China bans Bitcoin mining. That time, it was almost 50% of the hash power, 50% of the network was run by Chinese miners. And so Bitcoin price was about 50,000. By July, Bitcoin price went down to 35,000. And the hash rate dropped to 50%. Guess what happened? Bitcoin dropped down to 34,000. Now we're up at 110 plus thousand. So it's not relevant. The network didn't skip a beat. It was keep generating blocks. The transactions keep verified because the hash rate adjusts. So it's almost impossible to destroy the network. Now, especially now considering, even if you have the concern that, it's going to be limited and whatnot, if you look at the trajectory the United States is going on, becoming the crypto capital of the planet, I do think that decentralization is going to spread even more. And I do think that more miners will join the network to mine Bitcoin and operate the network. Guys, I think this was it. I hope these 5 things things. I might come with more. If you have any other concern, please let me know in the comment section. I'm gonna read all of them. I'm gonna bring you another video, but I genuinely think you're making a big mistake by simply not learning about crypto. And this is where it comes in very handy that I put my life into the past 12 months, really all sweat and tears and blood and everything. I do recommend you check our course out. It's completely free. There is no cash, there is no nothing. Link in the description, link in the pinned comments. Come and join us in 10 days. This is literally going to be, this is literally the best course that you can get out there. Hand on my heart, and send it to your friends, send it to your mom, send it to your neighbor, your cat owners club, whatever you have. Truly appreciate you being here with me. Thank you so much, and I hope you got any value of it. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if you have any concerns, and I believe I'll see you in the next one. Take care.